morning, everybody. Crafting Journey here, that journey chick over on Instagram. Welcome to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily, the show where I describe live trials, which there hasn't been one, but I just got a notification that the opening statements in the Danielle Redlick case start today, like 5 minutes ago. Yay. Those are out of Florida, so they're on the East Coast. So they're an hour ahead of me. I've got to get to work, but yes, I have to go into the office. Okay, before we get into the show, though, please don't forget to hit the like button. Today he's making coffee. I hope he did better than the last time he spilled coffee everywhere. Please, if you're enjoying the show, please share it with someone. Let them know, hey, this is a great show to listen while you craft. And you get to hear about true crime. And if you're not subscribed, it's free. Please subscribe. And don't forget the notification bell. Hit all so you don't miss a single episode. Because I never know when this is going to upload. Depends on the speed of the internet. Yeah. All right, back to the show. It is National Donald Duck Day. Who knew? So don't ask me to talk like Donald Duck, because I don't do Donald Duck imitations. I do a lot of things, but not that. So, in 1934, Donald Duck starred in The Wise Little Hen, and that's considered to be his birthday, June 9th, 1934. So, watch some Donald Duck today. That's all I have to say about that. Anyway, yeah, so you guys know, bad news. Yesterday I got to go back to work, so I have this lovely new shirt on. It's kind of pretty. I'm going back to work today. You know, I still get to work from home on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Yeah. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But you better believe, every 2 hours, I'm resting for 30 minutes, just like the doctor said. I'm going to go somewhere and rest. Anyway, what happened in the McStay case? Oh my God. This thing is so explosive. This trial is ridiculously explosive. I wish I had covered it from start to finish, but it happened a couple of years back. We're going to talk about some different aspects of the trial. First, there was surveillance. Remember when they said they went to the neighbor. She said, yes, I have surveillance. She found some footage of a vehicle pulling out of the driveway of the McStay family on the day that they disappeared, February 4th, 2010. This is the last day anybody has heard or seen from the McStay family. So they had experts on both sides, prosecution and defense, analyze this footage to see, they measured, what the trooper would have looked like, because it just caught like the bottom portion of this vehicle, no occupants or anything. So they had people measuring, where's the taillight, how long between this, and they were able to say, no, it definitely was not the trooper in this footage. But that it was a white box truck. Now, guess who has a white box truck? Yes, the defendant. But so do several other people, including Joseph's brother, Joe, the father of the McStay family. His brother, Mike, had a box truck, as well as Summer's ex-boyfriend, also white box truck. Well, like, how many white box trucks do we have in Southern California? Anyway, everybody has a white truck, so we don't know whose white truck it is. But here's the thing: that they had this huge blow up between the prosecution and the defense, because the prosecution withdrew their expert. They're like, no, we're not going to use him. And they notified the defense, we're not going to use him. But they never said why they weren't going to use him. Then when they found out that he had changed his opinion, that it wasn't the McStay family vehicle, that it was a white truck, but they couldn't say what white truck, they were furious with, they did this hearing, and they tried to get the prosecution disqualified, and because you didn't let us know about his change in his opinion, and it goes on and on and on. So the judge denied all that, but I mean, huge fights between these people. You're a liar. No, you're a liar. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Then there was a cell phone tower ping. The cell phone records for the defendant, Charlie Merritt, pinged near the desert, near the gravesite. But he's like, oh, I have lots of family up in that area. My sister lives up there. So they send a detective initially in 2013. They sent a detective out to her house, and they interview her, and she's like, oh no, he hasn't been out here in 5 years now, and we've not seen him. No, we don't. Yeah. Then she gets on the stand and she says, yeah, he was there all the time. So clearly she had changed her testimony. Why did she change her testimony? Because when the detective came to her house, they're very protective of their family, and she didn't know why they wanted her brother. So she was trying to protect him, because apparently her other brother had actually been arrested as the Hillside Strangler. Her other brother had spent months in jail because the police thought he was the Hillside Strangler. And when the strangulations continued, this was where there was somebody killing women and leaving them on the side of the hills. When these continued while he was in jail, they never let him out of jail. So as soon as they actually caught the Hillside Strangler, then they let him out of jail. So according to the sister, this is why she lied to the detective when he came to see her about her brother being at her house. Yeah, he could have been here that day. Yeah, he comes here all the time. This is what she's saying on the stand. Oh, not good for the defendant. Then we have the QuickBooks. So this is how Joseph kept records of his business, and he did it online. All right, the next day, February 5th, Charlie Merritt writes checks on the account that he cashes, but he backdates them to the 4th, and he signs Joseph's name to them, and he does cash them. But then he calls, on the 19th, he calls QuickBooks, and he says he wants the account deleted, the QuickBooks account deleted from online. What? Yeah. Okay, so this is looking terrible. Now, what is the defense's answer to that? Well, yeah, I did that because Charlie said he didn't want Dan Kavanaugh. Now, Dan Kavanaugh is the webmaster that was trying to kind of take over the business. So he didn't want Dan Kavanaugh to have access to the QuickBooks. So because they were online, he figured this guy would hack into it. So he had told Charlie, call QuickBooks and get it taken offline, and I'll just use the QuickBook Pro on my computer, which is just the personal. And then the defense actually got this guy that was on the stand that worked for QuickBooks to admit that this happens all the time. Yeah, the people don't, they switch from online to the QuickBook Pro because they don't want people to have potential access to their information online. Okay, so that's explained away. Then, lo and behold, in the middle of a witness, the defense attorney stops examining the witnesses and leaves the courtroom. And the other, and they're like, what's going on? And there's two defense attorneys. So the second one comes back. He's ill. He's not going to be able to return right now. He's very ill. So the judge lets this second attorney finish cross-examining. I can't talk today. Cross-examining the witness. But here's what happened. The guy doesn't come back for 2 weeks. This attorney, when they ask him, why didn't you come back? And he said, well, I don't want to get into my medical condition. Then he goes into his medical condition. It was all neurological. He said he saw a neurologist. His mind went blank. He says, if you had asked me my address, I couldn't have told you. And for the couple of weeks, he said there was just nothing there. He says, my mind was blank. So at the end of the 2 weeks, they postponed the trial for 2 weeks. No, I'm sorry. So they go on with the trial. This poor second attorney, he's trying to catch up on all these witnesses. Then they find out that, the first attorney comes back. And the first day he's back, he looks at the judge and he says, I can't do this. It's coming back. I'm gonna need a leave of absence. We're gonna, motion to continue this trial. Now the defendant thinks, oh, they're losing, and I'm going to go to jail, and he just doesn't want to be, have this as a loss, and he's faking all this, and so the judge postpones the trial, 2-week hiatus on the trial for this guy to get better, and he does. He comes back after the 2 weeks and seems to be better. But for 4 weeks, this went on. And of course, the plaintiff, the prosecution's like, you're a liar. Because they're like, we just saw you at a wedding on Saturday and you were dancing and drinking and, oh my God. Yeah. So that's an interesting saga. Now, I have my mind go blank every now and then for a couple of seconds, but not permanently. Yeah. Anyway, the weirdest thing I've ever heard. So then there's an issue. We get into the issue of DNA that was on a rope that was wrapped around Joseph's neck. And it was pretty tight up against Joseph's body in the grave. But there was no DNA from him on this rope. No victim DNA on the rope. Yet, the defense claims to have gone back after the fact and found 3 DNA profiles that don't match their client. And could you please run this through CODIS? They said the defense doesn't have access to CODIS. The only people that can do it are the prosecution. And the prosecution refused to do it. They're like, no, these are not complete profiles and we're not going to run them. Then, interestingly enough, we find out that the mallet that was found in the gravesite, no one tested it for DNA. Nope. Just didn't get tested. What? How do you not test the murder weapon for DNA? Oh, well. Then there's the issue of all these other suspects. There was Victor Hansen, a guy named Victor Hansen, that was quickly ruled out. Then there was a guy named McFadden, which was Joseph's. Joseph had been married before and had a child, but divorced, and then she had remarried to this guy named McFadden, and he had a history of domestic violence. So they looked at him, quickly ruled him out. Then they were looking at Dan Kavanaugh. Now, the defense kept saying, we've got a private investigator. He has been looking for Dan Kavanaugh. No trace of Dan Kavanaugh. Can't find him. Now the prosecution says, well, that's ridiculous. You didn't have a very good private investigator if you can't find Dan Kavanaugh. And they believed that the reason the defense couldn't find Dan Kavanaugh is because he was going to implicate their client. Well, they found Dan Kavanaugh. They sent their private investigator. He's like, yeah, it was easy. I had all the phone numbers and the addresses, and I found Dan Kavanaugh. And he had like a rock solid alibi. He had been in Hawaii. All his cell phone records indicate he was in Hawaii. His girlfriend took the stand. She testified, yeah, we were in Hawaii. Here's the pictures. Yeah. Then we get the DNA that was on the trooper, which is the family's DNA. It was only... This is the weirdest thing. The crime scene investigator swabbed the steering wheel, the radio, the air conditioner, and the gear shift, all with one swab. So it came back with the defendant's DNA on it. But we don't know, what did he touch? Did he touch the steering wheel, the radio, the gear shift? What did he touch? All of it? None of it? But there was only a trace, they said, found on the right side of the steering wheel. But I don't know how you say that, because she swabbed all these other things with the same swab. I mean, that's kind of junk. So, this gets really interesting. So, like I said, we do have opening statements in the other case today, which I'm going to cover for you tomorrow. But I will also give you the lowdown on how this trial in the McStay family concludes, because wow, is this interesting. Now, this day in history in Washington, D.C. in June 9th, 1893 in the Ford Theater. Now, this is where back in 1865, President Lincoln was assassinated. The same. Did I say Ford Theater? Yeah, the Ford Theater. And this thing is huge. I mean, who knew? But they were using it now. It's like 3 stories, and I mean, it's just massive, this theater. So they were the War Department was using it as their records and pensions divisions. They had all these clerks in there. Here's a picture of all the clerks sitting at their desk. Well, they were excavating the basement to put in some kind of electrical light plant into the basement, and everything collapsed. The entire interior of the Ford Theater collapsed. It killed 23 people. Now here's a picture of what it looked like after the collapse. Now they rebuilt the inside of the Ford Theater. It's still there today. Yeah. So, workers were panicking. They were jumping from the second floor onto awnings and to get out of there. It was just mass hysteria when this happened. People in the businesses in the area use this as makeshift hospitals for the wounded. Anguished relatives rushed to the scene. Can you imagine if that happened today? We'd have all the news crews there, and we'd know about it immediately, and it would be on the television all day long, really, really terrible. The Washington Post newspaper headline was "Plunged into a Chasm of Death." That's horrible. One theory is that this theater is cursed after Lincoln's assassination. There you go. That's a good explanation. So that's this day in history. I got to get to work, guys. Short show today. Short and sweet. But I will see you all, what's today? Thursday? Tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. I told you, more on the new case, more on the old case. And y'all take care.